A little nicer approach, you go with the Pikula variant, where you can't see you can't see what shirt he has on underneath. But we're gonna lead with a ponder, says BBD. And if you want to interact with us at BBD Live, you can
yeah, at BBD, hashtag BBD, BBD, BBD for your tweets.
So Braun-Duin leads with a ponder, and Chris Pikula is going to lead with a Gitaxian Probe. I love it when they do this because we get to see everything that's
It makes our jobs very easy, so you can see a hand of ponder, preordained, scalding tarn. There's a
Dark Ritual in the middle, I think.
There is a Dark Ritual, there's also an Empty of the Warrens and an Ad Nauseam.
Yes.
That's the grip. Glare can't stop me. I can see right through it. I defeat all of the obstacles.
Mark Teeden on the ponder. Pete Ventures on Empty the Warrens, although I could be wrong about that. It might be Jim Murray on the Dark Ritual, but I'm not sure about that. Jeremy Jarvis on the Ad Nauseam. Preordained, I'm stumped.
It's Arcade Post.
Is it Arcade Post?
I have no idea.
It's not Arcade Post.
Actual no clue.
It's not Arcade Post.
While Chris is writing down the information from the Gitaxian Pro, we did want to let you guys know that the last 3 Legacy Opens that he's played, he has not lost a match in the Swiss. So, he's 5-0 right now. He's off to a pretty good start. So,
yeah,
I don't know why he wanted to get a different deck than Rogue Delver. Like, just doesn't ever lose with it, so. He's going to play a Tropical Island, and we'll see if he has a 1-drop or not. He does not, so if you're BBD, you have to be pretty happy about that. No 1-drop in your future.
Yeah, I was way off on the...
Ooh, this is nice. So BBD replied that he wanted to be the New York Giants to Pikula's Patriots. Defeat the undefeated man.
Yeah.
I like it.
It could happen. It could happen.
A little bit of back and forth here. He's going to play a Preordained, play Scalding Tarn first. He's going to figure out how he wants to scry. Has to be careful with that Scalding Tarn, of course, because Pikula does have access to Stifle in his deck, 3 of them to be exact. So you don't want to get that fetch land ruined via Stifle.
Morgan, please report to the storekeeper station.
So Pikula's going to play a Scarring Tarn. He's going to sacrifice that. He's going to go get that beautiful Volcanic Island that we saw a little bit earlier today. Let's see what he's going to play, or if he's going to be Nimble Mongoose. He's really repping Stifle pretty hard right now.
Yeah, holding up that 1 blue mana.
Yeah.
So there you see the Nimble Mongoose.
Infernal Tutor, the draw for Brian. He's got a Ponder in his hand as well. And Pikula does have a Stifle in his hand, so it's not a bluff. He actually does have it, and he's repping it hard here as BBD is going to cast a Ponder, who was drawn by...
Mark Teeden.
Okay.
I'm going to confirm that.
Duress, Tropical Island, Polluted Delta are the cards that Brian has found via Ponder. So it looks like he's happy enough to keep him.
Yep.
I'm going to play a Trop. And just pass. Lightning Bolt looks like it was Chris's draw. He's going to play a Tropical, or excuse me, he's going to play a Scalding Tarn. That's the plan here. Alright, starting off with a Ponder of his own. So a lot of deck manipulation going on in this matchup. Chris finally does have a clock in play. He needs to get the thing into a 3-3 pretty fast, in my opinion, because, again, 1 damage versus 3 damage is a world of difference in the game of Magic, and that's what makes Insectile Aberration such a big deal in these sort of situations, eating away the opponent very, very quickly.
Yeah, it's a difference between attacking for 20 turns and attacking for 7 turns.
Yeah.
Right. That's
Takes a
quite the
Brainstorm.
difference.
All right, in for 1.
Yeah, just the 1 damage from the Mongoose. He's pretty far from threshold here.
I think he's got like 3 cards in the graveyard right now, and the Scalding Tarn represents number 4, so and this Duress can represent number 5.
Sure. So Duress from BBD, and Pikula has the option here to Brainstorm something a couple cards back to protect them. Of course, that costs him a Brainstorm to do that.
Yeah, I mean, this will be interesting, right? Because now are they going to fight over... This Duress is probably the key point in this game right now of everything that's happened over the first couple of turns. Is he going to fight over this, and he's just going to let it happen? So you see double Stifle, double Brainstorm, Lightning Bolt, and Daze.
All 1 mana or free spells there.
You see, Brian's going to write the cards down, and what to take here is incredibly hard because a lot of the things are so redundant. And I would be very surprised if he takes Daze. There's almost no way he takes Lightning Bolt because that card's of no relevance.
Yeah, he doesn't care.
And it's like, do I want to take one of your 2 Brainstorms when you already have one? Do I want to take one of your 2 Stifles when you already have a backup one?
Yeah.
The information is certainly important that he's getting from Duress, but
Right, absolutely. The information's way more valuable than a card.
yeah, almost taking a card here. Yeah.
He'd probably actually be happier with a Gitaxian Probe instead of that Duress, just to get a card out of it. So he's going to take one of the Stifles, and now he is able to play around the other Stifle.
And again, don't forget too that Pikula played a Gitaxian Probe on turn 1 of this game, so he's got a very strong idea of what Braun-Duin's working with as well.
Right.
Outside of a couple of draw steps, obviously, there's been some manipulation on Brian's side as well, but he knows some of the cards that are hanging out over there.
So BBD, how does he want to follow up that Duress?
It's funny, this is Brian's first tournament with Storm. I talked to him as he was walking over the feature match area before we went back on air. Sitting at 5-0. Now he has played, he's tested with Storm, but this is actually his first live tournament with Storm. So it takes there's a learning curve here to playing this real tournament against a real live opponent.
Looks like he's going to attempt to crack the Scalding Tarn, and he's obviously giving Chris the opportunity to stifle here.
Yeah, this is a sacrifice Scalding Tarn question mark.
Yeah, it's interesting too because in a normal situation, Brian does this, and it's like, do you have the stifle, right? Like, in this situation, it's harder for Chris to decide to stifle because he knows that Brian knows about the stifle. So is it like, does he want me to cast the stifle? Is he doing it to make me cast the stifle, or is is he just he wants a land, but he knows that I have the stifle, so maybe I'm gonna stifle it.
There's definitely the possibility of a game of one-upsmanship here. It's the game inside the game, as I like to call it. But it's gonna be good to go. So Badlands is coming in. And again, Chris knows that Brian has Empty the Warrens in his hand. Empty the Warrens is actually quite a good card against Rug Delver.
Yeah.
If you can get out 8 guys, maybe 8 or 10 guys is actually really, really good against them, barring a Tarmogoyf or something like that, which obviously we know Chris doesn't have yet. So Empty, he could be saving it for that, potentially, that Stifle. He could just be saving the Stifle for something better down the road. Does take care of Tendrils if you can ever get to that point, but I'd be surprised if that happened.
So, as you mentioned, the fetch land successfully cracked, and now Brian looks like he wants to tap that Badlands, but thinking better of it, or at least thinking twice here. You see behind BBD is our finalist from Standard, Charles Johnson, hanging out there watching over the feature matches. Looks like he's watching the match next to ours.
Watching the Masters at work. BBD just going to pass the turn now.
End of turn Scalding Tarn crack from Pikula. He finds a tropical island. I'm sorry, a volcanic island. Did you know Iceland is a volcanic island?
Is that true?
It is true.
That's kind of cool.
It is. It's pretty cool. I went there earlier this year.
So Iceland taps for blue or red mana.
It does. There are, it's pretty crazy. There are steam vents there.
Did you say, are there any boiler works?
I didn't see is it boiler works or anything, but there are some cascade bluffs. I
can play this game.
Scalding Tarn.
I'm sure there are no Shivan Reefs.
No Shivan Reefs, but yeah, Scalding Tarn kind of works there. It's a volcanic island. It's pretty cool.
So Chris is going to untap. He'll take a draw step. Gitaxian Probe, going to cycle and add to his threshold count. Not sure if he's there just yet or not.
Gitaxian Probe. And we're going to take a look at how Brian's hand has changed since the beginning of the game. We've got Infernal Tutor, Empty the Warrens, Cabal Ritual, Dark Ritual, Ad Nauseam, and Lion's Eye Diamond.
So he doesn't get to take a card, but he does get the information and gets a cantrip and put another card in his graveyard, does Pikula. And, boy, Yeah, obviously Ryan's trying to work his way towards something. See, rituals, so 2 rituals. You see Infernal Tutor. Pikula's going to take a look at that. We'll bring Infernal Tutor up on the screen for you guys as well, so you can get a good look at the Hellbent Tutor that kind of makes this entire deck work.
There it is. It's basically a way to get a copy, a second or third copy or fourth copy of a card that is already in your hand. But if you have no other cards in hand, obviously you can't show anything to copy, so you just get to get whatever you want out of your library. Can't search your sideboard, it's not a wish.
Not yet.
Yeah, Tutor Errata.
Brainstorm happening here after the probe. Wasteland among the cards that Chris found here. Actually, Wasteland's a pretty big draw here for Pikula because he has not played land yet this turn. He's going to put a couple cards back here. Looks like he's just
like
putting red cards
bolt.
back. Yeah,
Forked Bolt went there first, and now it looks like Lightning Bolt may be the next choice. It's weird because, you know, the bolts don't matter as much as they do in some other matchups, but it could help close out the game.
Yep.
So you can see that's the hesitance, I think, from Pikula. He's thinking, how much am I potentially going to need this later?
If he doesn't have a fetch land, he's going to have to draw those burn spells anyway.
Right.
But as you mentioned, it will allow him to actually close out the game a little bit faster, or make an ad nauseam that we know Brian does have in his hand a little bit worse. So
we believe Chris is now at threshold.
Yeah, I mean, if the probe didn't do it, the Brainstorm did,
does, yeah.
and the Wasteland certainly will. So yeah, he's there now.
Yeah. So Wasteland deals with the Badlands, and boop, now for 3 damage, Nimble Mongoose comes over and connects, and a Delver of Secrets joins the force. BBD now at 15.
Yep.
Is going to cast a Ponder here.
I don't know if we'll maybe see him fight over this with Pikula. He's giving it some thought, but that's going to happen.
We see Brainstorm, Gitaxian Probe, Cabal, Ritual
Players in Commander Pot number 5
in the top 3 of Brian Braun-Duin's library.
Is launching.
So he doesn't like that. He's going to shuffle.
To me, it feels like he just needs some land. Even like a discard spell to potentially clear the path would be okay, but his hand's a little bit awkward right now, and he's certainly not comfortable trying to go off here as he's going to shuffle with the Ponder. Preordain.
And he's going to immediately cast that. Just doing all the manipulation here.
Is that daze worthy?
So Preordain on the stack. Ball is in Pikula's court here if he wants to daze it.
The other big thing here too is, like, we know that on Pikula's side, he's looking at a Lightning Bolt in his hand. He's also looking at a Brainstorm too, but we also know there's a Lightning Bolt on top of his deck. So Delver's going to flip into Insectile Aberration next turn. So let's say that he bolts me in a turn, puts Braun-Duin down to 12.
Right.
Delver flips into Insectile Aberration, get in for 6, put Brian down to 6. He has a bolt in his hand, put Brian down to 3. I think dazing here is actually pretty good because you don't want to give him the opportunity to go see more cards.
And I think that's the exact line of play that Chris is going with. So bolt you at the end of turn to 12, untap, flip Delver with Lightning Bolt, swing, knock you down to 6. Okay, a draw for the turn, I guess, would help first.
Yeah.
Now it's very likely to be the swing, knock you to 6, and Brainstorm. Maybe he can find another burn spell.
He need
land burn spell.
He may be willing to play that Brainstorm with the Tropical Island in case he does run into another Lightning Bolt.
Right.
Because then he would have been able to go bolt. It's like unlikely that happens because he's already cast 1 and he has another one in his hand. So if you're playing percentages, it's unlikely.
Yeah. So Brainstorm finishes resolving. He plays that Tropical Island.
You see his hand of Stifle. I think his hand right now, Stifle, Brainstorm, and Lightning Bolt. So his hand isn't even great, and he knows the top 2 cards he put on top of his deck and doesn't play a fetch land to break the monotony of the Brainstorm that he just resolved.
Yeah.
So
he's kind of Brainstorm locked himself.
Yeah.
But he's got such pressure right now that he basically just needs to keep Brian from winning this turn, and that's it. And that's why he Brainstormed, I think, there, trying to... I mean, he could have, like you said, I think it might have been better if he had found... Maybe left up double red in case he ran into another bolt. But, you know, maybe he had his reasons. But likely he was looking for more ways to interact with BBD here on this final turn.
Braun-Duin's going to play Volcanic on him, so here we go. It's time for him to go off because he's facing lethal next turn.
Yeah,
Started off with a Dark Rit.
Following a Brainstorm. He Brainstormed first, then Dark Ritual, then Cabal Ritual.
David Fromgaard, please report to red table number 43 for your standard open trial round 2.
Then LED.
David Fromgaard, please report to red table number
3
43.
minus 2 is 1, plus 5 is 6, so he's got 6 black mana right now, and then an LED.
And then another LED. I mean, it looks like he can empty the Warrens like crazy, but that's not really going to do it unless he can block a Delver somehow and stop a Lightning Bolt. Okay, here's an Infernal Tutor.
Yeah, so he's going to create Infernal Tutor. With that on the stack, he's going to blow these LEDs, get some mana. So he had 6 black mana floating, now he's down to 4. In response, he's going to break both LEDs for mana, so that when the Infernal Tutor actually does resolve, he will be hell-bent. Chris checking to make sure that's how this works, but what he's doing is he's casting Infernal Tutor and responding to his own spell by breaking Lion's Eye Diamond, so that when Infernal Tutor finally does attempt to resolve, there will be no cards in hand, and you can go hell-bent with it. And keep in mind again that some number of spells can cast this turn. Keeping up the spell count at this point isn't really all that relevant. With Chris at 14, we're already like at the 7 spell point.
Yeah, I think it's 6 or 7.
Yeah,
it was Brainstorm, Ritual, LED, Tutor. That's 6, right?
Yeah. So we're going to be certainly in Tendrils range right now, and Chris is wondering because he's staring at Stifle right now. Is there anything that I can stifle? But there isn't, because LED is a mana ability, and there's nothing to stifle on the Infernal Tutor. So we'll figure out what colors of mana the the Lion's Eye Diamond's added. But we know right now that Brian has 4 black mana floating, and he has access to another mana with the Volcanic Island.
Right. Past in Flames is the choice of the Infernal Tutor, or the tutor target for the Infernal Tutor. So this is going to give Brian access to replay every instant sorcery in his graveyard with flashback, or he's going to grant them flashback.
Yeah. So he added 3 red and 3 black. So right now for Brian, he's going to be casting Past in Flames in just a moment, but pre-Past in Flames he's got 7 black mana floating and 3 red.
A Brainstorm from Chris. Now he knows the top 2. What is the 3rd one down? Puts 2 back. So after casting the Past in Flames, he has 5 black and 1 red floating.
All right. So Dark Ritual, you're going to see a flurry of rituals here. We'll probably start with Dark Ritual and Cabal Ritual to just get some more mana. And then we'll see one of those discard spells. There's your Duress to make sure that Chris, basically make sure that I can take the Stifle from Chris's hand, which here this is. You see, give me that Stifle so you can't ruin my Tendrils. You're going to get Infernal Tutor. I'm hell-bent again. Got plenty of mana to cast Tendrils of Agony, so I'm going to search my deck for that. And your Lightning Bolt and your Delver Secrets hand, those aren't going to do it, my friend.
So it looks like BBD has found his way to go off Tendrils View. And we're going to game 2, I believe.
I believe. Okay.
Yeah. Chris kind of making sure there. Wow, so close.
Well, when you beat combo, you're always so close. That's
true.
That's the point.
That's the fun of it.
If I had one more turn, you'd be dead.
Like,
well, that's the
point
point.
of playing combo.
Yeah.
I don't want to give you any more turns. I don't want to give you more than sometimes any turns. I'll just win on turn 1. What deck are you playing, by the way?
The other thing too, keep in mind that game, turn 1, no creature on turn 1 for Chris.
Yeah.
I think having a creature in this matchup on turn 1 is so very important to be able to go about winning the match. I think Nimble Mongoose came down either turn 2 or turn 3 that game, and that's just too slow. You need to pressure them from the start.
Yeah, just that little bit of pressure could have made all the difference early in that game. And of course, you know, you play a deck like Rug Delver with every intention of landing a Delver or a Nimble Mongoose on turn 1. But, you know, with only 4 copies of each, that's not always going to happen.
Yep. So we'll take a look at his sideboards here. Chris is going to be on the play first. Unsurprisingly, he's going to have some cards sideboard in. He's got 3 Submerge, 2 Flusterstorm, 2 Pyroblast, an Ancient Grudge, 2 Rough Tumble, Young Pyromancer, Sulfur Elemental, Tormod's Crypt, Grafdigger's Cage, and a Zoran Orb. Flusterstorm's the easy one,
Yeah.
so those are going to come in. The rest of them are a little bit more murky, because like I like Tormod's Crypt in this matchup because you want to get after the graveyard a little bit.
Right.
But like it's kind of meh as well, because like it doesn't have like a huge impact. It's just like this deterrent.
It turns off Past in Flames, right? I mean, Grafdigger's Cage probably does a better job of turning off Past in Flames. Grafdigger's Cage shutting off Flashback.
Yep.
So, I mean, you can cast Past in Flames, but you can't cast any of the cards with Flashback. So that would completely turn off that particular engine, or that particular part of the engine, which, as you can see, that is actually how Brian was able to win that game. He had to Infernal Tutor for the Past in Flames. So a Grafdigger's Cage would actually be a huge help there, but it feels like one of those cards where you're like, do I need a Grafdigger? Do I need to like waste a card on a route to victory that my opponent's not even going to try to use?
Well, you know, the interesting thing, in this matchup is that Grafdigger's Cage is, I think, Cage and Crypt are going to be actually quite good in this matchup now that I think about it, because I think a very high percentage of the time, the way the games are going to play out, ad nauseum actually isn't going to be an option here, because think about what we discussed a little bit earlier, putting pressure on your opponent as fast as you can and forcing them in a situation where they have to go off. They're not going to be able to go off with ad nauseum because, like, ideally, if you've done your job, your opponent's around 6. When Brian went off that turn, he was at 6.
Right.
And a virtual 3 because of Lightning Bolt. So if you've done your job, they don't have life to mess around with ad nauseum, so they actually have to kill you via the graveyard. We saw that in past versions of the Storm with a card like Ill-Gotten Gains.
Right.
Now they have Past in Flames, which is probably just an upgrade over Ill-Gotten Gains in most situations. But with that being said, you're going to want to kill them with the graveyard because you're not going to have the life points to spare to actually kill them with ad nauseum. So as a result, if you actually end up finding a Grafdigger's Cage or a Tormod's Crypt while you're playing a sideboarded game, you've done your job with the Rug Delver deck of kind of attacking their life total and forcing them to go off, those cards are actually going to be the kind of deterrent that you're looking for.
Right. Yeah, so I guess the Cage is something he wants to bring in.
So I think he wants both. Like initially, I didn't think that Crypt would be that good, because like a lot of the time where Crypt is supposed to be good, they just like bounce it and they kill you.
Yeah.
But I think that if you've done your job as the Rug Delver player, the opponent should be somewhere between, I want to say like in between 9 to 3 life, by the time they're trying to go off. Unless they have like an insane draw, you're not going to beat them anyway. But and then like they won't be able to ad nauseum you, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if Brian actually sideboarded out the ad nauseum because it's so risky to go off that way.
Yeah, that's a good point. How do you think he sideboarded if he did board out those ad nauseums? How many of those are main deck? Just
Probably
one.
just one, yeah. Because he can Infernal Tutor for it.
Right.
Like the easy swap, the lazy swap here is just like that out, Cabal Therapy in. Just because like you want an additional discard spell. The other cards he had in his sideboard are like 3 Slaughter Packs, 3 Abrupt Decays, 2 Dread of Night, 2 Chain of Vapor, 2 Surgical Extractions, a Lotus Petal, and 2 Caracas. Again, like we saw with last match with Brian, I don't expect him to change very much in his deck. That you're going to see a Nimble Mongoose here on turn 1 from Chris, which is actually going to get that pressure started right away this game.
Yeah.
I don't expect a lot of different sideboarding, but I would be a little bit surprised if ad nauseum's still in because I don't think it's actually reasonable to win. You see the bottom card of his deck
ad
is ad nauseum. So, ignore everything I'm saying.
Well, maybe he kept it in mostly because it's just a one-of, so it's not like a completely, like it's not like he's going to draw it and it's going to be a dead card very often. And maybe he finds a situation where he actually can use it. But we'll see. Ponder on turn 1 from Brian Braun-Duin off of a Polluted Delta into an island. And Ponder finishes resolving here. He draws his card. And now on Chris's second turn, he's going to swing in with the Nimble Mongoose, knock Brian to 18. Going to play a Wasteland and follow that up with a Tarmogoyf, a card we have yet to see today on the table. We did see it on screen though, checking the Modern Masters templating of the Tarmogoyf.
Yeah, that's the only time we've seen it today.
Yeah.
This is the kind of pressure that you want as Chris. Like you've got some creatures down, you've got Wasteland to actually attack one of those resources in his Badlands. Yes, he's going to start cantripping and stuff like that, but you've really got him under duress from a couple different angles, which I like a lot as you see a Pure Dame being cast.
Preordained showed Lotus Petal Cabal Therapy. He draws the Lotus Petal, keeps them both on the top, plays the Lotus Petal, plays Duress, so we're going to get a peek at Chris's hand if he lets this resolve.
Very dazeable in this situation if he wants to. All right,
And
so
Force of Will, Stifle, Brainstorm, Nimble Mongoose. So that's it's a disruptive hand there. Or at least he's got the Force of Will and some blue cards. He's got the Stifle to you know, mess with things. He's got the Brainstorm to kind of sculpt his hand if he wants, or hide something from a Duress later on. Obviously didn't care about hiding that. So Force of Will is the card that Brian targets, of course. Tarmogoyf now a 3/4 from Sorcery Instant Land in the graveyard.
big draw there from Chris. Drew a Tormod's Crypt.
Yes. Looks like he was considering a Brainstorm there. Or maybe a Nimble Mongoose, but
He of course wants to try to get the threshold as fast as he can, take care of that. You know, Tormod's Crypt might, depending on what's in Chris's graveyard, might off-balance his Tarmogoyf a little bit. But you know, he wants to try to make it so that in this game he can make it the shortest number of attacks as possible. So with any luck, he can do it in 3, potentially 2.
the Tormod's Crypt comes down before Chris passes the turn, and BBD's turn. He's going to ponder. Find.
It's a really good ponder.
Yeah, it looked like Underground Seed, Dark Ritual, and
Lotus Petal.
Lotus Petal.
Yeah, that's a really, really good ponder. Just 3 mana sources, which is what he needs. You see a hand of double Lion's Eye Diamond, I think double Cabal Therapy right now. I'm not sure what the back card in his hand is. I don't know if it's something that's going to allow him to go off like an Infernal Tutor. But again, the Tormod's Crypt is going to be such an annoyance now because as Chris keeps attacking with these 2 creatures, every attack makes Ad Nauseam worse. So you're going to see a shuffle here for Brian. And as a result, he's not going to be able to use Ad Nauseam as a way to go off. He's going to have to kill him via Passing Flames, which Tormod's Crypt will not allow him to do.
Pretty much exactly the way we kind of outlined it before this game. So Ponder shuffles and draws Brian a card. We got a Brainstorm at the end of turn from Chris. He finds another copy of Force of Will alongside, I believe, a Delver of Secrets. And I'm not sure what the mystery card was. Chris untaps, draws a card. It is that Delver of Secrets that I mentioned.
1, 2, 3, 4 cards down there.
He's going to swing in here.
Again.
2-headed giant players, your round 3 cards are up. Please take your seats.
Passing Flames to draw for Brian. Not a. Is that bad? Yeah, it's bad. It's bad.
It's Tormod's Crypt is there.
Yeah, it's got Tormod's Crypt. Yeah, it's horrible.
I was trying to figure out maybe if you were thinking, well, he could force him to use the Tormod's Crypt now, but that makes him use the past in Flames,
Yeah.
right? So
I was thinking about like if he goes LED, add the mana, discard the cards, flashback to Tormod's Crypt, what happens? And what happens? He gets Tormod's Crypt and loses immediately. So it's not good. It's not good.
and
Yeah, it's hands the nuts too.
yeah, Gitaxian Probe shows us 3 counterspells and a Delver of Secrets. So it's I'm sorry, I guess Stifle's not officially a counterspell, but it's it can be against this sort of strategy. Stifle, Spell Pierce, Force of Will, Delver of Secrets was the 4-card hand from Chris Pikula.
I got a feeling we're playing a third one. I've got a feeling here.
And Chris untaps, draws a card, swings his guys. BBD to 6. That's the magic number. BBD won the game, won the first game at 6 life. Can he do it again?
Look at, he has 3 LEDs in his hand, and he has no way to get a Tormod's Crypt off the board. So LED number 1.
And passes the turn.
The thing here, like, Chris doesn't have Threshold yet, but if he's able to get to Threshold, he can just end the game. Assuming the Tarmogoyf still stays at 3/4, Ponder would be a first step towards doing that. I think right now you just do whatever you can to get this game over with on this exact turn. It might be a little bit because he's got 4 cards. Crypt represents 5, Ponder represents number 6, like Fetch Land represents number 7. So I think you do whatever you can just to get the game over with, because I don't think that Chris thinks that Brian has a card like Echoing Truth or, you know, Chain Vapor or anything of that nature, and even if he does, he can force it. So I think you just try to kill him this turn, even if that involves force of willing your own spell.
Tormod's Crypt will also grow the Tarmogoyf.
That's true. Yeah, it would be an artifact in the graveyard. So even if Chris crypts Brian, he's still going to have artifact, instant, and land. So it's still going to be a 3/4. So now he just needs to get no monkeys up to a 3/3. So again, Crypt represents card number 5 in the graveyard. Ponder represents card number 6, and he could just force a will his own Ponder to represent card number 7 and kill him.
The Ponder also would be a sorcery.
Yeah, so that would make Tarmogoyf a 4.
Yeah, because that's the sorcery that's in Brian's graveyard that's counting for the 3/4. So Ponder, Bust Crypt, you've got a 4/5 Tarmogoyf, and that's 6 cards.
And see, Chris is just trying to figure out what I need to do to kill him this turn, because like even if he does something as simple as ponders into a fetch land, the game ends, because he just ponders, which is card number 5, hits a fetch land, fetches, that's card number 6, Tormod's Crypt's Brian, that's card number 7.
Right.
Tarmogoyf's still big enough, that gets the job done, and then if Brian does have something, you know, crazy like a Chain of Vapor, you can just force a will removing the Delver of Secrets, and that's it.
Yeah, so that's pretty much what Chris is trying to do here, is figure out how to get Threshold and attack. Like, really, it's all just about getting Threshold here.
That's the big key on this turn. Assuming that he wants to end the game this turn, because he could play like super conservative too, and just attack for 4, put Brian in 2, and say go with Force and Stifle and Spell Pierce in his hand. And you know, so there's the aggressive line of like, let's get this game over with, even though he's not working with perfect information like you and I are. We know Brian has nothing. Or he could just play the much more conservative line of like, good luck beating my Tormod's Crypt that's in play, the Force of Will plus blue card in my hand, and the Spell Pierce or Stifle if I have to use them.
Right. Looks like a spell is forthcoming here. He taps that Tropical Island and plays a Nimble Mongoose. Force of Will on the Nimble Mongoose. This will also grow the Tarmogoyf because creature's now in the graveyard. Pops the Tormod's Crypt, and that will also grow the Tarmogoyf. Tarmogoyf's bigger than a 3/4, but it doesn't really matter.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah.
So he found it. So Pikula's going to win game number 2 with Rug Delver over BBD playing Ant, as we're going to go to a 3rd and final one. And I'm not seeing BBD go back to the board, so that ad nauseum is going to stay in the deck.
Yeah, Jacob Corey on Twitter said that Ant versus Rug matchup, Ant wants almost very little from the sideboard, just extra discard versus a hand of counters. So kind of like what you said, if he does decide that he wants to get rid of the ad nauseum, which it didn't look like that was the plan here for BBD, and it doesn't look like that's going to be the plan here for game 3. He did consult the sideboard actually now, so who knows if he's changing things or not, but if anything, he's going to just bring in extra discard. He's got a singleton Cabal Therapy as his additional discard. So if BBD agrees with Jacob Corey, then that's the likely switch, or at least the Cabal Therapy is the likely card to bring in. I don't know what card he brings out if not the ad nauseum. Yeah, I mean, the thing with that is with that particular game and the whole strategy of bringing in Grafdigger's Cage and Tormod's Crypt is you need to draw them. So there we saw Chris have it.
Of course.
But you know, you don't draw into it, and the Past in Flames comes online, it's going to be all irrelevant. Chris appears to have potentially made a change or two, but can't confirm that.
These two guys in their flannels having fun.
Yeah. I wish we were wearing flannels.
You know, I like Chris's better.
You do? Yeah.
I do.
Mean, I like them both, really.
So I think it's the darker shade of blue.
Yeah.
There's also... So, are those stripes? I guess there's some vertical, some horizontal.
On which shirt am I looking at?
Either one.
On both, it's the same. Yeah, it's a square grid kind of flag pattern.
Yeah, I like the darker blue here. I also like that Chris's is more ironed. It's more crisp.
It is.
Than Brian's. Brian's got the kind of laid-back look. He's got it down though. The Ted Mosby. That's what I call it. Just got out of bed.
Did you say,
It's a good look.
Did you say Chris's shirt was crisp because that's just crispy?
No, that was not.
Chris
That was
Pikula,
not why I did that. That was. But now, actually, yeah, it is why I did that.
That was it. It was totally
Crispy.
intentional.
Crispy. Your shirt is crispy.
Crispy has a crispy shirt. Well, I just meant like if you just shift the last name over and use the last initial, it's just crisp.
No, I know what you were doing.
I wasn't actually even trying to say crispy. I was trying to say crispy.
Chris P is
That
going to take
H
a
is
mulligan.
ruining everything. It's ruining the entire pun.
If you guys are just joining us, Senator Phillips, Joey Pascal, we don't even know what we're talking about anymore, but we are here in Baltimore for the StarCityGames.com Open Series. If you guys do want to join us on Twitter, tell us how ridiculous we are at SCG Live, hashtag SCGBALT. We do appreciate about 4,500 of you hanging out with us this Sunday. We do know that you guys have plenty of options. We do appreciate you guys hanging out with us all Sunday long as we do crown a Legacy Open champion. We've already crowned a standard one.
Yes.
Joseph Herrera, Big Red Deck. He'll be writing about it on the industry standard for this Wednesday on StarCityGames.com. And at some point, we'll find someone to write Leaving a Legacy as well, so we can find out who had a sweet Legacy weekend. It could be Chris.
Could be.
Could be with his Rug Delver deck. Again, he's won his last 18 Swiss matches with Rug Delver.
Insane.
That's not even a real thing.
It just doesn't sound possible.
The Taxian Probe
yes.
to start the show.
All right, let's take a look at Chris's hand. We've got a Pyroblast, Wasteland, Nimble Mongoose, Ponder, Force of Will, and Flooded Strand. So a turn 1 Nimble Mongoose, a possibility. A turn 1 Ponder, also a possibility, but I think Nimble Mongoose might be the play here just to start the pressure off. So Flooded Strand, let's see what Chris gets, if he gets the Tropical Island. He does. He's going to shuffle it here. He taps it immediately and is, let's see, is it Ponder or is it Mongoose? I think it's Mongoose. It is. BBD untaps his basic island, being Wasteland proof there.
Again, you have to start off with the clock.
Yeah, I agree.
There's a Volcanic Island. Here comes a Preordain. Make sure he doesn't get that dazed. Chris has shown that he's willing to daze these type of cards in this matchup.
So Preordain, hidden from us.
You see his hand right now. He's got a Brainstorm, a Lotus Petal, a Pass in Flames, and 2 black cards there. Not sure if
double
those are,
duress.
Yeah, it looks like they're discard spells. So not the perfect draw here.
Finds an Infernal Tutor with that Preordain. Passes back to Chris, who's going to start bringing the beats with that Nimble Mongoose.
I wonder if he's going to Wasteland this turn. I'd be surprised if he didn't.
He is.
Yeah.
Wasteland on the only available target on the other side of the board, the Volcanic Island. BBD has the option to use this mana here before he loses the land.
But the worst, he floats it.
Yeah.
And bluffs like he might use it. It doesn't look like he's going to.
No, moved into combat. Mongoose attacks for 1.
Okay.
Ponder, the follow-up play from Chris. Finds another Wasteland. Another Wasteland in there. Along with a Delver, I believe. Mystery card. Looks like a Polluted Delta.
This one's kind of interesting because like he's got a
Stifle, a Force of Will.
He's looking at a Delver Secrets and he's looking at 2 lands. So if he takes a Delver, it's not going to flip for a little bit because I don't think he has a Brainstorm in his hand. Not positive. You see the Force, you see the Stifle. Does he want to keep that? Okay, it looks like he does.
Draws that Delver for the turn. Brainstorm from BBD at the end of turn.
Uh-oh.
Or is this...
This is a no land. This is no. This is.
Importantly,
this is no fetch land, but it's no land.
Yeah, this isn't actually at end of turn. This was during his turn.
Yeah, this is on his main phase.
Yeah. Did it so quickly. Untap that island and Brainstorm.
And so now, because he doesn't hit a land, like the next Brainstorm he's going to cast, I have a very, very strong feeling Chris is going to counter it.
So, Polluted Delta to play from Chris. He's going to find a Volcanic Island. Gets that shuffle effect, so now that whole concern about Delver not flipping is, well, we don't know if it's going to flip.
It's
now.
Relive now, though.
Yeah, so Delver of Secrets from last turn comes down.
And Chris does have Brainstorm in his hand, so he can guarantee that it flips if he wants to. That's the last card. He's got Red Elemental Blast, Stifle, Forcible, and Brainstorm. So if he wants Delver to flip, he can have that happen.
Nimble Mongoose bringing the beats again. BBD now down to 18, which pretty healthy at this point, but it's still not looking great.
Yeah,
Braun-Duin.
this game is really ugly here because now you see BBD is going to play. It looks like a Lotus Petal from his hand, and he's just going to pass the turn back, or at least, I mean, he's going to try to resolve that.
Right. Chris actually considering. Well, he goes with a Brainstorm.
Yeah. I think he's fine with letting that Lotus Petal resolve because it's Lotus Petal and then Brian says go, and it's like, okay, that's fine. End step, I'm going to Brainstorm. I want to set up my Delver to make sure that it flips, have a better idea of what I'm working with, because like, he probably wants like another land, another blue card, what have you. And now he gets to put the pressure on. He's very, very close to threshold for his Mongoose. So now he can make it so this game is like a 3-turn long game.
So Brainstorm finishes resolving. I believe the first card he put back may have been a Tarmogoyf, but the second card was definitely a Pyroblast.
Does not need a Tarmogoyf right now. Yeah, he's going to turn over Pyroblast. I wonder if Brian's going to maybe try to resolve a Brainstorm before the Pyroblast goes to hand, but that does not look to be the case.
Like not Threshold yet. I think there's 5 cards there in Chris's graveyard.
Chris's hand is absolutely stacked right now too, and this happens a lot when you play Red Delver because they don't have very many lands in their deck. Most versions are only playing 18, which is Chris's is playing as well. So because they don't have many lands, their density of spells is always going to be quite high, and the fetch lands take the cards out of their deck. And of course, the cantripping means they're just going to find more spells and can sculpt a perfect hand and put a clock on you. That's what makes this deck so very powerful. Sacrifice Lotus Petal here and cast Dark Ritual. Well, this is interesting. I don't know where this road leads.
Duress
right.
is the play from BBD. So 2 black floating. BBD falls to 14 on Chris's turn, and this turn appears to be getting a little frisky considering the situation he's in.
So Duress again.
Duress number 2.
Stifle Blast.
Yeah, Stifle Red Elemental Blast.
Just trying to put up a fight here.
And the important thing is these Duresses are going to give Chris Threshold.
Yeah, that was the thing I was going to say. Yeah, is that these are going to turn on the Mongoose. This card taking Red Blast is going to be number 7. Now he's got a Brainstorm here and get a little bit lucky. So number 1 is a Dark Ray, number 2 is a Petal, number 3, okay.
Lion's Eye Diamond is the 3rd card, so BBD is still alive. He's going to put back the Past in Flames and the Infernal Tutor. At least that looks like it. Looks like he's going. He does have double Infernal Tutor right now. Actually, may have triple Infernal Tutor.
Well, I said they had to get a little bit lucky, and he's off to a pretty darn good start.
Yeah, no lands there, but some mana sources.
Now, of course, the other thing, too, is like, you know, he's going to get bottlenecked now, like our Brainstorm locked, excuse me, because he doesn't have any lands, doesn't have fetch land, what have you, but he has hit a very, very good Brainstorm. Now he has to overcome 2 Stifles and the clock that's on the board, so he's got some work to do. He's going to play Lotus Petal. Are we moving in here?
He's doing it. So Lotus Petal resolves, he cracks it.
And this gives him a way to shuffle for the Brainstorm too, so that's a really, really big deal. So is what he's missing right now maybe a black source of mana?
He played the Petal.
We know he didn't hit any lands. I don't think he has a backup Petal either.
So he's got double Dark Ritual now in hand.
And this is really hard too. He's going to take 6 off this attack. This is really hard too because the fetch land is like no good. Pass. In for 6 more, so this should put Brian down to 2. Draws. Oh my goodness.
Found a land.
He found a non-fetch land. That's the big deal.
So Underground Sea comes into play. Taps that for Dark Ritual number 1. Dark Ritual number 2. So it's 5 black in his pool.
I would be so impressed if he can work through this turn and be able to go off. Like blown away if he can. So he's got 5. He's got 5. He's got Cabal Therapy, so now he's got 4. See what he's going to name? I think he has the name Stifle.
Right.
Right?
I would think so, yeah.
Because he knows there are 2 there, and Chris drew 2 mystery cards,
yeah.
And he, like, those cards are an absolute nightmare, so I assume that if this resolves, he's going to name Stifle here. And again, remember, he has 4 black mana floating. Ritual's going to, he's got 4 black mana floating. Ritual, so Infernal costs 2, so that would leave him with 2. LED makes it so it's 5. Island makes it so it's 6. Gets Passing Flame with 2 left.
It's really...
I think, oh my god.
He gets Passing Flame with 2 left and can Ritual if the Passing Flame resolves.
So now you see a Brainstorm and a Tarmogoyf. Now he's going to cast LED.
Yeah, so he did name Stifle, loses both of those. LED comes into play here.
Yep,
and
break
Infernal Tutor, in response, you break the LED.
He's got to break it for red to get Passing Flame, so he's got 2 black mana floating.
So 2 black and 3 red should be in his pool here. Now, Chris could Brainstorm.
Yeah, he could Brainstorm and roll the dice.
I mean, what else are you going to do? Just watch your opponent go off?
Yeah, the question is when do you brainstorm? That's the question.
3 red confirmed off that LED.
Because now he's got 3 red, 2 black, and then the island that he hasn't used yet. So he's got access to 6 mana. Again, access to 6 mana. Passing Flame 6 minus 4 is 2. He's got to leave 1 of that mana to be black so that he can go double Dark Ritual after that. So that 2 minus 1. 2 minus 1 is 1, plus 3 is 4, minus 1 is 3, plus
5 black and
yeah. So he'll be up to 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least 5 black, and then 5 black, and then some other color, plus I guess red.
There's your Passing Flames.
So Infernal Tutor finds that Passing Flames. You see it again. It's I mean it's a key card in this deck. In fact, I'd say it's the one. You can't say it's the key card. There's every card I guess seems like it's a key card in this deck.
Yeah.
But it's really what gets things going. So
Chris is going to brainstorm a response. You see Brian rub his hands together? Wasteland, Tarmogoyf.
Blooded Strand, no. That's an awful brainstorm for this situation.
Oh my god, you see that Chris is going to look at the graveyard, and Brian's going to go, I'm going to ritual, you know, I'm going to do a couple of different things here, that I'm an Infernal Tutor, I'm going to get Tendrils, and I'm going to kill you. And your brainstorm actually helped add to the spell count.
I think the spell count might have been high enough. Anyway,
I think the spell count was going to be high enough. Yeah, I don't think that's the issue. But, you know, obviously the brainstorm helps adding to it. And you see Chris cannot believe that he's going to lose this game. And I can't believe he's going to lose the game. He extends the hand.
Insane. Past in Flames. Braun doing it.
All BBD all the time. Hashtag BBD at BBD Live.
That's right.
6-0 with Storm defeating hopefully the future Hall of Famer and Chris Pikula. What an insane third and final game. If he draws a fetch land, he does not win. It has to be a black land that comes into play that's not a fetch land. How many of those is, or Lotus Petal, but how many of those does he have in his deck? He has 2 Underground Seas, he has a Badlands, and a Swamp, so we're looking at 4, and then he has 3 Lotus Petals, maybe a 4th one after sideboard, so we're looking at somewhere around a 5 or 6 outer.